Hey, dads and Jimmy.
Hello, hello.
Welcome back to DadSchooled podcast, where we are not perfect at all. Period. Just gonna leave that there. But we're here for you, the dads out there. Jimmy, what are we talking about today?
Today's an interesting one. We're wanting to talk about something that I think from time to time brings a little frustration, or could lead to some frustration for some dads when they're spending time with their kids. Wanting to get into the times that you have something you feel is super important, something that you're wanting to pass on to your kids, a skill or a knowledge, and for whatever reason, it's just not clicking with them. Maybe they're not engaging. It could be something as simple as a life skill, like how to change a tire, how to make sandwich. It could be something simple like that, or it might be one of your something that you're super passionate about, a hobby, wanting to teach them how to smoke meats, how to go out in the backyard and throw around the baseball for a little while, go play catch. And for whatever reason, they're just kind of disinterested. It's not clicking for them. It doesn't seem like that passion that you had. You might have an old memory of how it was super important to you. It was one of those core memories that you had from your childhood, and you're wanting to recreate that with your own kid. And maybe it's just not clicking. So then, how do you move forward in that kind of situation? But I think our key is just remembering that heart of fatherhood isn't about forcing a skill to stick. It's not about, as they come out, making sure, okay, they got that specific skill. It's just about faithfully showing up. And as we're planting those seeds, and then we stay connected with our kids, then that relationship has legs and will continue moving forward in the future. And it's hopefully this will bring a little bit more peace to your heart in some of these situations.
Gosh, Jimmy, I'm seeing a pattern in a lot of our podcasts and a lot of these dad self-help topics of just being around and being present is like half the battle. I mean, we
We
can
should write
almost
a
like
book.
we can end it right now. Like that was it.
That was it.
Just being there, you know.
Be present.
Maybe walking away in anger or walking away and abandoning people is just like half the problem in society nowadays. And inappropriately or improperly handling your emotions is like a big thing. Anyway, let's dive into this. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
story time from Josh. And I'm gonna once again, like I do every single week, I'm gonna attempt to talk about this topic in a way that's not going to discredit myself, my wife, and my kids. That's not the intention to this talk. And
You can change the names and dates to protect the innocent. That's okay. No one will know who you're talking about.
well, our 3 viewers will know. Maybe not your mom, but
Yeah.
other people might.
Okay. It's all good.
So I'm not saying this. It's really about the heart of how you approach things is what this all boils down to, in my opinion. And I'm not saying this out of malice toward my kids. And I'm just saying that from my point of view, my intention is going into some of these things I'm going to talk about. I had a different outcome already in my mind of how I thought it'd go. I thought my kids would unify around me and like be skipping to me and the task at hand to help me in every way, shape, and form, and be eagerly soaking up knowledge from me like a sponge and looking really interested and excited to be there with me. But that's not what happened. So that's why this is like a topic. So Josh story time continues. Simple home repairs is probably my biggest thing, right? Simple home repairs or simple repairs around the house. For example, in my past, I can remember changing out the garbage disposal. Okay. I myself have never done that before this happened. And I've always seen people do it, or I've watched people do it, but I've never done it myself. So it was like a big moment for me to get in there and like prove to myself I know how to do this. I'm pretty confident with tools. I feel like I know my way around a wrench, and I know what a screwdriver looks like and how to use it. So getting in there, watched a YouTube video as standard practice in my household, and had the parts and had everything laid out, and everything was perfect. I was ready to go. I just needed my kids with me, and I needed them to also learn and have the mindset of wanting to learn how to take care of your house. So in the future, if you had to do this yourself, you would know how to. And I thought this is a perfect opportunity as a male in the household to teach other males in my household. Not my daughters are more than welcome to. I love them when they come and help me as well. Some of my biggest helpers in my garage are my daughters. It's kind of funny. But as the dad in the house, I thought it'd be perfect to teach this skill to my son, you know? And he just was not interested. And I'm not bashing him for, being lazy. It's just he had no interest in taking an old garbage disposal out and putting a new one in. And then the same exact story applies to repairing a hole in the wall. There was a hole in the drywall, and just basic skill of repairing that in your house, as a dad or as a house owner, having that knowledge and how to do that correctly, at least correctly in my eyes, is valuable, and you should know how to do that. Once again, it fell flat, and there was no interest in learning how to fix the hole because other things in their lives at the time were more important, and they were excited to do those things instead. Same with electrical work. I put a ceiling fan up in several rooms several times throughout our house we have currently. My kids have been old enough to help, and that has not happened. Or lights. We've changed our light fixture in our kitchen 4 times now, 3 times now, you know? And it's just something we do. You change our lights, like, let's change our light again. Why not? Let's move it over 16 inches in the ceiling and leave a hole there for me to fix later, which goes to repairing the hole in the ceiling. And then a big project I had recently, ripping out wooden steps in the back of my house and putting concrete steps formed up back there. Concrete work is a big thing that some people, make their whole careers around. That skill is something I don't have all the way, but I had someone over helping me, and I thought it'd be cool to have my sons and my kids and whoever in the house, even my wife, but she wasn't home, out there helping me do the back steps. And it just didn't happen. So I guess that all those things and all those complaints put together, you can add on, making food sometimes if you're cooking. Your kids just don't want to help you in the kitchen. Doing the grass was a big thing for us. It was like exciting concept that they were able to do the grass, but then all of a sudden when they realized what that entails, they had no interest in doing that anymore. So those things all added together, we can ask the personal question to myself and other dads out there. Why does this matter so much to you that our kids are with us and learning this? Why? Why?
Why? Yeah. Well, I saw I don't know, it was maybe 2 or 3 days ago, or maybe yesterday. I don't know. But there was a clip going around from like a local news station that did this story on how the current generation, as they're growing up and moving out of the house, there's some colleges have started offering adulting 101 is a class that they're putting out. And the content of these classes is how to sew a button back on,
Mhm.
how to cook meals, how to change a tire, and a lot of those kind of like general life skills that schools have been getting rid of. Home ec classes, how to manage a budget and that sort of
Mhm.
stuff. So it's like all
Yeah.
the kind of home ec stuff you would do in shop class or whatever. But it also indicates that they're not learning it in the home. They're not learning it from their parents.
Mhm.
And so they're growing up and they're getting out into the real world on their own. Like, I don't know how to do any of this. And some colleges have realized, hey, we can actually make money charging tuition for these life skills. So let's do that. Uh, so it just highlights, I think, some of that importance of like, it's not just about only sharing our hobbies or our own interests, but our goals as dads is to help equip competent individuals as they grow and go out into the real world. And I'm just as guilty as others, especially I can remember when I was new in retail management, when I was running a Starbucks. And I was very much the type of manager of, if I want it done right, I'm going to do it myself, and just
Mhm.
like wearing myself out, doing all the things, ordering, placing all of the orders, making sure all the cleaning tasks were done the right way, just all the different things that had to be done on a weekly basis, writing the schedule, hiring, interviewing, all the things. And was exhausted. And one of my bosses pulled me aside, my district manager pulled me aside, and he goes, if you just spent like a week training this person how to do orders, and then spent a week training this person how to do the cleaning checklist and make sure that stuff's done, he's like, your job's going to be a whole lot easier if you just spend a shorter period of time, hit it really, really hard and thoroughly, and then let them go with it. And you observe them, you critique and provide input, but you're still monitoring. But then let them own that. And guess what? All these people that I started working with, like, they kept getting promoted, they were growing, and they were excelling. And my life was a whole lot easier having other people kind of take some stuff off my plate. And so I try to incorporate that into my life and routine as a dad. Not always the best at it, but my kids, like my 7-year-old wanted to power wash the back deck with me. Like, she loved it. She was excited. Um, and so my initial inclination is, it's going to look messy if I let them, you hold the power washer. It's not going to get all the little swirly streaks and stuff. And I did. Like, we had those, and it took me a few extra minutes to kind of work those out, but I let her do it for a while. And that specific moment kind of got in my head, like, when my kids are interested, my kids want to be plugged in. And even when they're not interested, like,
Mm.
these types of things are important. To your point, like, hey, garbage disposal time, like, you guys need to kind of at least just get the basics. This is what takes care of our food when we shove it down the
Mhm.
sinkhole. Like, there's a mechanism here. And you guys should just at least have some awareness. Like, those things are actually kind of important. So that idea of the legacy you're leaving with your kids, it doesn't happen instantly. It takes time, and it can take some work, and sometimes it might not seem like it's landing. But that connection isn't built in a perfectly planned lesson. Like, that connection happens over years, over months, over, you're doing this thing in the yard and you're doing this thing in the garage, but inviting them in. That connection, like you're saying, it's about being present. It's about being faithful. And that's kind of that core thread we've been weaving for a few weeks now, I think.
Yeah, that it's interesting distinction you made. When they're interested and are terrible at the task versus have zero interest and you're pulling teeth. Like, both, I
Yeah.
think both of them have their frustrations for us dads, right? Like, I can name off a handful of tasks that my kids are absolutely terrible at, but they have the heart to do it. And it's not because like they like doing this chore. It's because dad's doing this thing and they want to be a part of something with me. And that's something that I have to realize when I'm doing these things, when I'm trying to get a task done that I might not even want to do myself. Right. That's the hardest. Like, I'm sure, Jimmy, you didn't skip out your back door and say, I am so excited to power wash this right now. It is the thing I want to do. And then you have a cute little girl asking to help, right? And you're like,
Mhm.
your first reaction is no. I want to get this done, knock it out, right? That's like your knee jerk reaction. At least that's mine, right?
Right.
Whenever not even seeing what the skill level is of the person, even if they've never done it before, my default reaction is no. I'm gonna do this myself and just knock it out, right? But then you let them try, and it's terrible. But then, like, you had a moment, right? Like, you guys, it's a memory. I'm sure she's gonna remember that for the years to come, when dad let her make swirls in the in the concrete or in the decking, right?
Yeah.
So it's opportunity, right? So we always assume when they don't want to show up and don't want to do something with us, we assume that they're rejecting us outright. It's not us they're rejecting. It's actually in my opinion, and I'm sure there's other doctors out there. There are doctors. I'm not a doctor. There are doctors out there that would tell me some sociological meaning behind this, but they don't want to do the work either. It's a chore,
That's
right?
right. That's right.
And me as a dad wanted to impart this knowledge on them, thinking that I'm an authoritative figure that they should be looking up to, and this works when they're like, what, 5, 6? No matter how bad the task is, they'll usually want to be there next to you. But there's some age, I'm saying around 9, 10, let's just call it that changes, in my opinion. And then there's a shift in my household, there has been at least, where now it's a chore, and being next to dad's fun, but he's really excited about this chore and me being with him, so I should not be here. And that's like their default state.
Yeah.
And we get frustrated because that happens, and it's not the only opportunity you have to teach these skills. And I learned this with my oldest son. Even if he's not looking at me like eye to eye, like you figure, I grew up with my dad, make eye contact, don't be disrespectful, those kind of things. Even if I'm talking to him or telling him something and he's not looking at me, he still picks it up. Like he hears me. Might not be accurate all the way. Might not be like spot on. Good job, Luke. But he does get the gist of it, and he is listening. It's amazing. But it's not the only chance to teach him this one skill. And I have a story to wrap up at the end with this too. Remember that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I know you keep on forgetting all my stories I have. I have lots of stories.
So many.
So many. But this isn't an opportunity, like I said before, to get something imparted on your kids. And you can't let disappointment close the door on your wanting to keep teaching them, keep going, try it the next time. Because if you keep on getting down and depressed whenever your kid doesn't want to help you do the terrible chore you want to show them, or in their perspective, like, it could be a chore, you're trying to repair this fence. That doesn't sound fun, Dad, or you're trying to clean up this in the backyard, trying to teach you how to take care of the lawn. Well, that's not the important thing in their life right now. Fill in the blank with what is, and that's what they're interested in. But it doesn't mean they're not listening to you and they're not observing you do that task, because years down the road, they could be like, yeah, I kind of know how to do that. I saw my dad do this. And that confidence level of like their dad got in there and did it will help them versus their dad saying, I have no idea what I'm doing here. I mean, that's another topic, I guess, too. But like, if you're confident and can't do any task at all, but you still try and mess it up, that could be another fun humor story for your kids.
There's always good stories in those situations. Yeah. I think some of those questions to kind of come away with at the end of a situation like this is, as we're working on whatever we're working on, is my primary goal, am I trying to control the situation and control this outcome? Is that what's most important? Or am I trying to connect with my child? Now, having the task done well, that's still valuable and that's still important. But if bringing your kid in and having them join you in completing this task, doing this project, whatever it is you're working on, doing a hobby, spending some hobby time, whatever it is you're bringing your kid in, what's most important to you? Controlling the outcome to be 100% perfect, or creating a connection that it might not be perfect? We might burn the meat this time. But that failure presents an opportunity for, okay, let's circle back. What went wrong? Why did it go wrong? Is there something we could do different next time? It helps open up more conversation that you can help develop them. And then sometimes you get those really funny stories that you get to share later on, down the road. It's one of those like, we'll all laugh about this someday, like that's where those moments come from, is whenever things aren't going perfect, but it's still good.
When the tears finally dry, we'll start laughing.
We'll start laughing, yeah, eventually. But am I caring more about this lesson being specifically perfect, hitting every beat exactly where it needs to be? or, are we building a relationship? Which is holding more value for you? And then that scariest one, am I placing my identity, my self-worth as a dad, as an individual, as a man? Am I putting all that weight on how they respond, how much they click in? Memorial Day, just a couple days ago, our project was, we have this kind of mulch bed out in the front, nice, pretty little red bud tree, looks really great for about a week when the buds come out. But we've got crabgrass coming in and all sorts of different weeds and other stuff that get in the mulch, and then we have to pull everything out, remulch it. And so that was the project for Monday. And my girls were super eager, got out there, and the eagerness lasted about 5 minutes, but it was a couple hours job. They kept working though for maybe 35, 40 minutes. And then they just wanted to, can we go get the sidewalk chalk? Can we get the bubbles? Can we get the scooters? And at first I was like, there was that first feeling of, they just don't want to be around me. They just want to leave me on my own. And I kind of got like sulking Jimmy moment for a minute. Like, I just have to do it all myself. But I go, you know what? Once you guys go, you can run for a couple minutes, get some energy out. Because I know just crouching here, you guys are getting antsy. We're outside. Like, it's a beautiful day. Go get some energy out, and then I'm going to call you back over in a few minutes. And they did. And I had to kind of figure out a balance, and thankfully it worked, and it looks nice. And there wasn't any shouting or tears. I think that they had some good moments of learning. Like, you want the flower bed to look good, it takes work. This is the work involved. And there was a lot more time of them involved than there was them running around being crazy kids. But in the moment, I kind of thought, let's let them have some of that bounce back and forth, and that seemed to actually help. It kept my sanity levels at a good place.
Because the mistake you could have made there is you could have put the law down, put your dad foot down, and been like, no, we're doing this right now. And it creates an argument. It creates that tension. And then no one's having fun while you're pulling weeds, right? And then it's just awkward silence. You get that sideways glance from your wife, like, why did you do that? And you're like,
yeah,
I don't know. It sounded like I got my way, but I don't feel like I won anything at all. So yeah, that's something that you struggle with out there, other dads. That's a lesson, take a step back, take a lesson from Jimmy there, that he did not put the law down, because that, letting your kids go and play for a second and recognizing they have energy and recognizing the task that they were supposed to be doing outside as a family or whatever the situation was, that is not the most important thing, right? The long-term relationship and learning the importance of a task and the importance of good work producing good results is the goal here. And if that means you got to stop for a second with anything you do in your daily life, is going to be applied to. If your head's down, work, and your heart's not in it, are you going to do the best work? No. Like, you can take a break, take a walk, come back, then you're like, okay, let's knock this out. And then now, I'm sure now your daughters don't like walk around away from that section of the yard when they walk past it, right? There's no like trauma behind that. They might look at it now and remember this and think of the hard work that went into doing that, and they can respect that more, right?
Well, it was great when we pulled out of the driveway, because it's right next to our driveway in the front. And as we're pulling out to go someplace, the day later, just look at it. We pause in the driveway, like, that just looks so great, and give them another pat on the back. Like, you guys worked so hard. Thank you. And I could see them swell up with a bit of a self-pride in a good way of, that hard work, that paid off, makes a huge difference. And then when mom came home and she saw it, because she wasn't home whenever we were working on it, and then she was able to give them praise and all of that. Like, those are the things that will help build that character, and the like you're saying, not having a trauma response when they look at it. That's what we want to stay away from. But if it's something that they look at it and it's a pride that builds that self-worth, that self-confidence, You know, these are the kinds of things sometimes I feel like I fall into it, you know, backwards, but it worked out, and I'm happy with this outcome.
And you can apply this to anything at all. Like even if it's chores or like cooking dinner or lunch. Like I can just think of
Mhm.
times my kids magically picked up cooking somehow. Like I don't think maybe I did, and I don't remember. Maybe my wife has been giving them cooking classes behind the scenes, and it sounds silly because like one of my daughters can make grilled cheese sandwiches for the entire family just fine. She can cook it. All my kids, I think all my kids, except with the exception of my 6-year-old, they can make uh, any kind of soup. Open a can, put it in the microwave, cook it, and it's like that's awesome. You know, they've graduated one step further from me needing to do something to keep them alive. They can do that themselves, which is nice.
That's very valuable.
It is, and like they can cook popcorn, the bags of popcorn. They can do that in the microwave. My youngest is the top consumer of popcorn in the world, I think, and I think he knows how to do it. I think the height is the issue over the microwave or the stove, but I mean he's getting there. He's gonna be pretty tall enough to do himself, and we'll be in real trouble. Like, we'll have popcorn going at all times of the day, probably. Um, but the point is, like all these different tasks, cooking, changing your tire, changing your oil, all these different things. If you apply the same mentality that Jimmy just talked about, of valuing the experience and not creating a hostile experience when you're doing these tasks. It's not something that the family has to come together and kumbaya through it, but it is something that you shouldn't come together and fight over. That's like the biggest goal. If you're approaching any of these any situation, you're working on something, and you want your kids to learn this, the worst thing you can do is shout at them when you're doing it. That's going to turn them off. That's going to be a big thing of like, nope, I don't ever want to do carpentry because my dad yelled at me. You know,
Right? Well,
um,
it's the joke always of the memories that us boys have, of
the
when we're
flashlight.
kids and the flashlight. Exactly. Like, that's totally a joke, I think, of all men our age, of
Yes,
the scary moments of working with dad and you're not holding the flashlight right. I don't even
I
know if I have that memory,
I
but
used to sit there and I'd be wiggling, and my dad would be like, "You're
uh-huh.
getting me C-stick. Stop it!" I'm like the flashlight bobbing back and forth. I remember that.
Uh-huh.
And this topic is actually amazing because we're doing it, first of all, but second of all, this topic's amazing because I remember my childhood. I remember the specific moments my dad had a problem with this type of thing. My dad was very much into airplanes and model airplanes and building model airplanes when he was a kid, and he wanted to do that with me a lot, and we did that. I love doing it, and there was a point in time that he'll say, you know, when I discovered my wife, I stopped being fun because I just wanted to go be with her. Because up until that point where I was just hanging out with him and doing things, and all of a sudden it was like, boop, girls, which is
Yeah.
expected in a teenage boy. But
Eventually, yeah, yeah.
backtracking to when I was probably, shoot, I want to say like 5 or 6, my dad got this all balsa wood airplane kit, and we're out at our camping property we used to go to all the time, and he had it on the bench. It must have been like the perfect moment for him as a dad, that he was preparing because he wanted to impart on his son the airplane model building, and he had all the tools, he had the box set up, and it's one of those things where it's not it's not built at all. It's literally strips of wood, and you gotta break them away from the sections, and then you gotta follow the diagram. You put the paper on the table, and you gotta glue the pieces on the paper in the correct way, and form it up. It's like very complex. You actually built each rib of the wing
Wow.
in the airplane. It was pretty in depth. It was for a rubber band thing. It was pretty cool,
Propeller,
but
yeah.
yeah, and the
Yeah.
outside actually had like a rice paper that you uh, glue on with epoxy. It was crazy. It was a very in depth model.
Wow. Yeah.
But my mentality at the time and my interest in this, I loved airplanes. Don't get me wrong. I loved airplanes. I loved watching war movies with my dad. It was perfect sidekick I could think for him. But he looks over at the picnic bench we're sitting at. I have an X-Acto knife. And I have a piece of the balsa wood. I'm going just cutting up the wood in little pieces. And he's like, "And you're not old enough for this yet." and he put it in the box and we put it up, and he waited several more years. But like I remember he did not yell at me. And that was very important for me, is like I think that would have turned me off from ever doing that again. But he didn't yell at me. He was just like, "I don't think you're ready for this." And we just went and did something else, right? And several years we came back, and I'm like, "Dad, why is this one piece of wood all cut up with the knife?" And he's like, "Well, son, that was you."
You remember?
Yeah, but we did build that model eventually in my room. I have memories of that, and it was good because we built it and we had lots of pride. I have pictures of me holding it in my room. Went to the park and flew it, and the first time it just broke into a million pieces, right? The very first time we flew it.
Of course.
But that process, I knew it was very important to him because he's always talked about his childhood and doing model airplanes and whatnot. So it was like, that was pretty cool to see that my dad handled that right. And I'm glad he did, because if he didn't, I'd have a completely different love of airplanes and all things cool, probably. Now I know I'm using a lot of time talking about stories, but I'm gonna finish up the Luke story real fast. My son.
Yeah.
So there's been various projects around the house that I mentioned, like the drywall, patching holes, and doing different things, like doing basement. I finished my basement years ago, and he's old enough to have probably helped with that, but he was not, so I was worried that I missed my opportunity, that he didn't pick up anything. I failed as a dad. But you know what? Last year, my church allowed a group of us to build an escape room inside the church. And we did escape room right. We had a decent sized room to work with, and we had 3 to 4 rooms we built with walls, stud, drywall, everything up from scratch inside this room. And we made an escape room that's very, in my opinion, comparable to a lot of the professional ones. And my son helped with this. He helped plan it. He helped design it. He helped with the ideas of all. He dove in. He was super excited about all these different puzzles. He loved the puzzle ideas. We started building it. He wasn't as confident as I would have liked at first with a hammer, but by the end, he was hammering nails in. He was using the power tools, and he was doing all the skills that I was afraid that I missed the opportunity to teach him with. He was using them, and I was like, this is pretty cool. Like I had several dad moments throughout the whole process of building that, running that, and taking it down, where I was able to step back and look at my son and really be proud of what he was doing. And it was a cool feeling. And it was like, if I went with my initial gut feeling of I failed because he didn't pick up on my house, putting a garbage disposal up, fixing this hole in the wall, whatever, that's a big misconception I would have had. But he actually was paying attention, and he, when the time was right for him, had interest. And he wasn't an idiot with the tool names, and because he was around dad and he was listening. So it was a really cool thing to see. And I'm not saying that it's always going to happen with you guys, with all the other guys out there, but I think of how you approach it and the attitude you have when they don't come to join you is a big part. Like I might have sulked internally. Oop. Hey, we switched spots.
Oh,
that was weird.
You disappeared.
Yeah. You back?
I don't know if it was just watching me for a while.
I was monologuing too long. I just like kicked you out. That's weird. Where was I at? Oh yeah, but the important thing was I complained to my wife in private. I didn't complain to my kids about them not being there to help me. And I was very much not nasty to them about them not showing up when I wanted them to, and the way that I wanted them to. So that's an important takeaway from that. I feel.
Yeah. It's I mean, just that those final bits that are, super important of what we're wanting to it's lessons that me and you still learn. I think every single day, it's all about just staying available with your kids, whatever you've got going on. Like, be available to them and invite them in. Keep offering. You're probably going to get no more than once, and that's all right. And sometimes some things, when it's especially chores related, no doesn't work. But keep offering, and even if it's something that's a hobby of yours, like, share your excitement. Tell your own stories, so that whenever you finally get to invite them in, like, oh yeah, dad's always telling like these really cool stories of, like, for me and for my dad, he was into scuba diving. And I was always hearing, when I was younger, before I was old enough to get a scuba license, like, he would come home from being with his buddy and tell all the cool stuff that he saw underwater. And like, when I was finally old enough and he got to invite me, like, hey, you want to learn to scuba? I'm like, oh yeah. And so then that was our thing, like, all through high school. Like, he and I would go scuba diving a ton. But he offered and he invited, but it was that initial, like, I got to see his excitement and how cool it seemed to him. Like, I want to do something cool. So make sure that you're making that available. But then in the very, very end, it's all just about that connection. Maybe the lesson isn't going to land. Maybe the actual experience that you've planned out perfectly in your head isn't going to go exactly the way you thought. But ultimately, it's just about having that connection time with your child.
Absolutely.
So is there something that, maybe this next week you can come up with an idea of invite your kids in? If it's a specific chore, the weather's getting nice, you're having to do some yard work outside. It's time to fire up the grill, the smoker, whatever you've got going on. Let your kid come be by your side. Put something in their hand. Is there something that you can start passing on to them that maybe you're holding on to a little too tightly just for yourself, thinking that this is the only way it's going to be done right? But can you invite them in? Is there anything that you can do that with this week?
Absolutely. And if you find something that you can invite them in to be with you on, make sure you find us on YouTube, find us on Facebook, find us on Spotify, find us anywhere, find us in person for all we care. If you know where we live, that's kind of creepy. But tell us your experience. Tell us what happened, what went well, what did not go well. And we would love to hear about it. And if it's exciting enough that other dads might benefit from it, we'll definitely share it on the airwaves and maybe help somebody else out. Speaking of helping somebody, if this has helped you at all, please pass it along to your friends, pass it along to your husbands if you're a wife listening, or feel free to pass it on to your son's dad if you're listening and your son's old enough to care about a podcast. It always helps to pass it forward. All this knowledge we're imparting on people.
Yes.
But go to dadschoolpodcast.com and definitely come back next week because we have episodes.
It's going to be a banger of an episode.
It's going to be a banger of an episode. That's right. All right. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll catch you next week.
Yeah. Good to see you. Take care.